decriminalizing opioids. They asked Andrew Yang, and he has a stance where he wants to decriminalize some of the narcotics, some of these opioids that are causing this epidemic, this narcotic opioid epidemic. He wants to decriminalize them and them being used in safe havens, per se. So let's watch the question and the answer, see what they say, and I'll let you know what I think.
Kia Jones, she's a student at Trinity Washington University, originally from Ohio. Go ahead, Zakia.
How do your ideas on the decriminalization of opioids differentiate between addicted individuals and drug suppliers?
It's a tremendous question, and I was put onto the need to decriminalize opioids. First, they're the facts, where 8 Americans are dying of drug overdose every hour. This is a plague, and it's so bad that it's actually reduced our nation's life expectancy for the last 3 years. Drug overdoses and suicides have overtaken vehicle deaths as causes of death in America. Now, the federal government was complicit in enabling this opiate epidemic because the government stood by while Purdue Pharma dispensed hundreds of thousands of OxyContin prescriptions as a non-addictive wonder drug, and now we're all grappling with the after effects. So when I was in Iowa campaigning, a high school senior came up to me and he said, "There are high school seniors in my school that have fentanyl patches and are addicted to opiates, and how can we get them treatment when they're afraid they're going to get sent to jail if they step up and say, I have a problem?" And so when I saw this, I said, wow, we have to do more to help get treatment into the hands of that teenager's classmates. And I looked into international examples. There have been countries, including Portugal, that have decriminalized opiate use for personal use. And the way they make that distinction is they say, if you have more than a week's supply of personal use, then we may treat you as a dealer or supplier or someone who's actually engaged in a criminal enterprise, and then it's illegal. But if we just catch you with a quantity that suggests that you are just using it personally, then instead of referring you to a jail cell, we refer you to treatment. And that is what we need to do right here in the United States.
So you want to decriminalize small amounts of opioid use and possession. Does that include heroin?
Yes, it does. We need to decriminalize opiates for personal use. And as you might not be surprised to hear from that, like I'm also for the legalization of cannabis. We need to remove that from the federal controlled substance.
So cannabis and opioids, including heroin. Any other illegal drugs you want to decriminalize?
It would be the opiates that are the most common, which unfortunately right now include heroin and fentanyl.
What about cocaine?
Cocaine it would not be on the list of substances I would engage in this because the addiction has very different features.
Okay, let's move on.
I really like this question. I appreciate the question. I really like the way he answered it. Number one, because he started out by putting the blame where the blame needs to be, right? I hate people who start talking about, we need to fix the epidemic, but we need to just tell people to start saying no to drugs. Get out. I want nothing. I don't want to hear from you, right? Yes, obviously we want to teach and educate these children not to use drugs. But Andrew Yang, in the beginning of that answer, he said it's Purdue Pharma's fault. They gave us these meds. They pushed these meds. They gave doctors bonuses when they would prescribe these meds to patients. It is Purdue Pharma's. It is these pharmaceuticals' fault, right? They are at fault for this epidemic that are killing Americans at a rate that is now higher than car accidents. It is insane. It is insane, and I appreciate that's how he started out, by putting the blame where the blame needs to be. That's number one. Number two, the separation between, if you want to decriminalize this, if you want people to use it for their own use, right? How are you going to decide if someone is a supplier or dealer, or if they're just using it because now it's decriminalized? And just like in many states that have decriminalized marijuana for recreational use, you can have up to a certain amount. And once you pass that certain amount, you don't need that much. If you need that much, just buy some today and then buy some tomorrow after you used it. But if you have more than a week's supply of heroin, fentanyl, whatever he chooses to decriminalize, then that's when they decide that you're a supplier versus someone who's just using. It's really, really, really well thought out. I think that's great. I would love to know where Bernie Sanders stands on this issue specifically, on decriminalizing opioids. I agree with him 1000%. I am on Andrew Yang's decriminalization train. As a healthcare provider, I think that's the best way forward. They have been, like he mentioned, Portugal has decriminalized many of the opioids, and their addiction rates have gone down, their suicide rates have gone down, their deaths from narcotics have gone down. If we can see it, it's happening before our eyes. Why don't we just do what's happening in other places? The good things from other countries where they've already started these, what many would consider radical changes to our healthcare, right? I agree with him in that specific area.